Utah Mammoth have traded Matias Maccelli to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a conditional third round pick. The conditions on that third round pick are it becomes a 2029 second round pick if Maccelli scores 51 points or more in the 2025-2026 season and Toronto qualifies for the playoffs. Now, this is a big trade. I had heard rumours Maccelli might be on the move, but I really wasn't expecting to see it. However, I think this is a fantastic move by the Toronto Maple Leafs, in my opinion. Although he did regress last season, his first two real seasons in the NHL were quite fantastic. He was absolutely monstrous for the Arizona Coyotes. That first main season was 49 points in 64 games, and the second season was 57 points in 82 games. Playing, second line minutes, he was everywhere. He was, looking like he was going to be the next big thing for the Arizona Coyotes. And then obviously they moved over to the Utah Mammoth, but things sort of regressed from there, where he only put up 18 points in 55 games last season. Saw his time on ice drop quite significantly as well, going from 16 minutes a night to 13. I understand sort of moving a player like this on if you just don't feel like he's going to get back there, but also I feel like you're giving him away now. There must be a reason for it. So I'm expecting the Utah Mammoth to be quite a player come free agency in what is to be a few hours time from when this is being recorded, because if Maccelli bounces back, even if he becomes a 40-point scorer this season, that's going to be massive for the Leafs. Like, it's going to be a big help for the Leafs, and they'll still only need to give up the third round pick. Not to mention that he's in his last season. I just feel like if Utah held on to him, he has a bounce back season, gets back to 40, 50 points or whatever that is, and Utah aren't looking like they're making the playoffs. Great player to move on at the trade deadline. They would have gotten a lot more than the third round pick that they've got now. And obviously if you regress, that it is what it is. But you could possibly still move him. There would probably be a couple of teams still interested in taking him at the deadline, and it would probably not be as good as a third round pick, but it's not going to be that far off. Third round pick's not overly that fantastic. Now, like I said, Utah are probably going to make a big splash in free agency with this move, given freeing themselves up, and now they've got $19.5 million in cap space. So I expect to see them being quite active, and it'll make a lot more sense, this trade, I think, if you see a handful of moves and come free agency, and all of a sudden that cap space is gone, and that 3.5 mil would become quite vital. So I think if they do make a big splash in free agency, this will make a lot more sense. Or if there's another trade coming, then I'll understand it a little bit more. I don't think it's overly a massive loss for Utah. It could come back to bite them in the ass, but I just feel like it's a little bit premature. He did show so much promise there for a while, and obviously a regress season last season, but we know players can do that. They can have a down season and then they can bounce right back. So I think this is fantastic for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think it's such a good risk to take. You give up a potential 2029 second round pick if Maccelli bounces back, but like if Maccelli's putting up 51 points plus, the Leafs are either in a really good position in the standings, and they're making playoffs, and who cares, give the second round pick. Toronto need to win now. Or you're flipping them at the deadline if Toronto are somehow outside of a playoff spot, and that draft pick literally stays a third because they're not making the playoffs, and they probably get more than what that is at the deadline, especially if Maccelli's putting up 51 points or more. So yeah, fantastic trade for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I rate it quite highly. I rate Maccelli quite highly, even though he had a poor season last season. It'd be interesting to see how it pans out for the Utah Mammoth. Like I said, I won't put it down as a loss for them, because if they make some big moves in their free agency, well, then this move makes all the more sense. So yeah, I'm definitely not going to say a loss for the Utah Mammoth, but right now I like this for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So let us know your thoughts in the comments anyway. What you thought about the trade, whether you rate it or not. And like as always, please like, subscribe, and share the video. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Catches. Bye.